Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Sorry, I was chugging a beer because we're going to talk about Zack Snyder movies. Good morning, class, and welcome back to the Nerd Academy podcast, your source for nerddom news and commentary. I am your host and superior web headmaster, Jarod Bachman-Stubbs, and I'm very excited for today's episode. First of all, first teen app of 2024, and it is also, as of today, at time of record, January 10th, the 4th birthday of the Nerd Academy podcast. So, quick, thank you. I see our guest applauding, and hello, Bill Sheehy. Yeah,
heck
woo!
yeah, baby!
Bang, 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 bang,
Congratulations!
bang.
4 year. What is that? What anniversary is that? Is that the bread? Is that what is it? Some of the early ones just don't they're just nothing. So what is this?
I want you to know the only other personality on air I have heard make jokes about the whole what anniversary is that Knowledge Fight. Knowledge Fight.
Please stop. Please stop. Okay, that's actually good company. I like them. I like Knowledge Fight.
It's not Alex. It's not.
I thought you were comparing me to Alex Jones for a second, which I'm like,
no. Dan and Jordan have made those.
Okay, absolutely. Hold on.
Not AJ.
What? Hold on. I'm looking up what the 4th anniversary gift is real quick, but I don't want to have dead air, so I'm going to keep talking. Here we go. You ready?
Please do.
Silver rose. I got a silver rose for you. It's right there.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
You take it, and I'm going to put it in cookie in the bag of many.
He lives.
Yes, he lives. He lives. We just filmed a cutscene for Epic Confrontations, and I last minute went, oh fuck, I got to move Cookie Cop because I keep forgetting that in EC canon he's dead.
It completely negates everything, but it's fun. It's not real. So
this is EC Legends. All of our actual podcasts outside of Epic Confrontations are not canon. But yeah, so first of all, thank you everybody who's been along for the ride over these past 4 years. Thank you to everybody who's contributed to this show, who isn't on as much these days or had to kind of walk away from doing the show for other reasons. Thank you to everybody involved. When we started this, we realized it was time for us to spread our wings and do our own thing, and it was scary. It was weird. I was uncomfortable because I am very much somebody who when I form a habit, when I get used to something, it's really hard for me to want to shake up the status quo, even when I know I need to. And I'm very grateful and thankful for all of the people who've been along for the ride. So yeah. Thank you, everybody. Speaking of new things, as of today, there's a Nerd Academy podcast TikTok now. Go follow that.
Do it. Hold on. Speaking of which, I think I need to do that. I'm going to do that right now. Right. I know you guys followed me earlier. Here we go. And follow back. It's done. Do it right there. You see, it's all done. It's so easy. Just follow them. It's good follow so far. No content, but we'll get
not yet. We'll
get there.
Casey's working on some clips. Casey's working on some clips from the episode of KNR we dropped today. And then I'm gonna be overhauling some of the funny clips we've taken to put over there as well. Namely my rant about why Count Dooku is one of the most based OGs of all time.
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah.
But yeah, we have an interesting conversation here today, guys. It's where we are here to celebrate the life of the DCEU. Doesn't exist anymore, y'all. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about it in a full retrospective of an entire cinematic universe that I have a lot of feelings about. But you know what's going to help those feelings go down a lot smoother, Bill?
What's that? Oh, I know.
That would be what is it? If you know it, say it.
It's Bloody Mary mix.
It would be a Sunday's Bloody Mary. You guys know the drill. Sunday's Bloody Mary has the most badass Bloody Mary accoutrement in the multiverse with their 3-time award-winning spicy Caesar mix and their mild and traditional mixes if the spice ain't for you. They also have their award-winning pickled dilly beans, okra, and asparagus if you want to get your freak on and garnish that bad boy, and some rim salt if you want to get nasty. I am a former bartender, the son of a current bartender, and from my bartender mom, I learned how to make a mean Bloody Mary from scratch. And let me tell you, I like Sunday's Bloody Mary even more. It's my jam. I love that spicy Caesar. I live for it. So use the link down below to go to sundaysbloodymary.com and then use the code TNAP, TNAP at checkout to get 10% off your order and help out your favorite nerds while you do it.
Hell yeah.
So,
also Bill, a former bartender. So that's probably the drink I've made the most has been a Bloody Mary. So do it. Use that code.
We have not kept up with the DCEU as much as I would have liked to.
It's okay.
There were, especially this year, there were a lot of time constraints that kind of kept me from seeing Blue Beetle and Shazam Fury of the Gods. I still haven't seen Shazam Fury of the Gods. I watched Blue Beetle today. So before we jump into our overall conversation, I want to talk about Blue Beetle. I'll give you the floor in Shazam and talk about Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom. As I think it's I think it's a conversation worth having. So Blue Beetle. We'll start with Blue Beetle. Watch it today. I enjoyed it. It was, now that there's a group chat we're in with a bunch of other YouTubers and content creators, and the conversations about whether or not superhero as a genre is a thing. It's a topic that's come up a couple times. And normally I am reticent to call superhero movies a genre. Because a lot of the time, especially modern superhero movies, they do have it's a story about this hero, but ... Captain America and the Winter Soldier is a movie about the superhero Captain America that is also a political thriller that does not, just qualify as a superhero movie, as it were. I will say, however, I do think there are movies that do fall into like a genre convention. And I do think, fascinatingly enough, despite the fact that a lot of people want to like blame Marvel or the MCU or whatever for like the existence of superhero mania, a lot of the time those very specific like genre complaints have been from DC movies, or the ones that I see falling into them are there. And I think a lot of that's also just like, congratulations, like it's the hero's journey structure. Good job, you noticed it. So for me, I think Blue Beetle was, in terms of like, again, superhero media, it was a little paint by number at first. It was like I could, it's just a lot of beats that I'm like a little overly familiar with. However, once the movie gets going, and it kind of gets like the halfway point of the second act, the chemistry with that cast really goes up a level. And I found myself really invested in and appreciating the Reyes family as a whole. Jaime especially, obviously. The villain was kind of a cartoon. And I think that it did, I think it did the tension a little bit of a disservice, if for no other reason than like the Reyes family felt so human and so real and so genuine that putting them up against like Susan Sarandon, like gnawing on the scenery, kind of like I don't know, it kind of took away from me from the tension, because it's like just this monster of an imperialist capitalist nightmare.
If the Reyes family did not exist, if they weren't as compelling, if that emotional core wasn't there, the movie would not work in like any capacity. Because I think what you're saying, there is parts of it that feel very paint by numbers, like you said. Both villains are just kind of every stereotype when it comes to like superhero origin movies. It's Susan Sarandon is obviously very comic booky. I think that other villain, I forget what.
OMAC.
Well,
OMAC's the armor. I can't remember like his name, but like it's the OMAC armor.
Yeah. OMAC is just like the superhero's powers, but like evil. But like for me, I think a lot of what works for it had so much heart that like I remember what like before it came out, like I was excited, but like it wasn't like my most anticipated DC like EU, or even though whatever they're calling it, DCEU, even though like it wasn't really its real name, but like
but it's the name it got.
Right, exactly.
But it got it.
But like I found myself like there's just an earnestness to it that like I can't not like. So like like I said, it has heart. Despite it having a bunch of like cliche superhero movie things, and going back to your point about like superhero as a genre, I think when superhero movies go into a specific other type of genre is when it like does its best. Like you said, like Winter Soldier is a spy thriller, you know, The Dark Knight is Heat.
Yeah, so, it's like, Heat, but with Batman.
Exactly. So like, and then like Endgame is just it's a heist movie. Like that's
it's a heist movie that turns into like a space opera for the last hour.
Right. And so like, I think that a lot of what DC tried to do was try to like do kind of the paint by numbers, make it fun, make it light, superhero fare. That ultimately like did it in because it didn't really have compelling characters or it had characters that everybody likes, but it didn't like make them, I guess. There wasn't a lot of it didn't have a lot of heart, I don't think. And that's why like some of the movies that I did like, you know, people might look at my like tier list eventually and say like, well, that's weird. Like, why would you have this movie up front? But like, I think, you know, the Aquamans of the world, like I think that movie worked because like it was a little silly, it was a little earnest, and like everybody knew what kind of movie they were going in. Like they were in, like they didn't take it too seriously, which I think that's what DC initially tried to do, like super serious, super, you know, Nolan-esque, Dark Knight, and then they went a little too much into like the world of silliness kind of. But yeah, but Blue Beetle I ended up really enjoying because I think it found the right balance, because like once again the family just rocks for me.
Absolutely. And I do think that there's an interesting conundrum there where the DCEU starts with this grimdark vision, which we're going to talk about again as we go into this. Travis couldn't make it, but granted, if Travis were here, this would have been a 3-hour episode of him just screaming. But you know, that it kind of course corrects in this weird way where like I do think an Aquaman and I think Wonder Woman. They're not my favorite movies in the DCEU. But I think they're the ones that understood how to make movies about these characters the most. You know, I think they are the movies that understood, like, okay, especially because so many of the DC characters predate their Marvel counterparts or their Marvel competition. So you have characters like Aquaman, like Superman, who are they are just so much more hokey by nature than like an Iron Man. So you have to make a decision. Do we like make it like super dark and overly serious, or do we go all the way into absurdity and treating it like a joke and treating it like it's silly? Where I think that movies like Aquaman and like Wonder Woman lean into that fanciful element and embrace it. And you know, the Aquaman movie does not make any bones about the fact that our hero here, our main character, you know, is the king of Atlantis and can talk to fish, and the villain is called Ocean Master. You know, like it does not shy away from any of those things. It plays it straight. It does not play it silly, and it does not play it overly seriously. It plays it straight. It is like we own it, and this is who we are. And it has a light element to it that makes it work. And I think that part of that is what works so well for Blue Beetle, is that we have this young man driven by his family, you know. Like, I really, really, the one thing that I was like really annoyed by that they kind of won me back over on by the end was how frequently the villain, the henchman, kept doing the like, your love for your family makes you weak. I'm like, this is a little on the fucking nose, right?
That I think that feels a little fucking on the nose, is like pretty much like all my like criticisms, especially like of DC this year. Like it feels a little on the nose, you know, whether it's Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, Shazam, The Flash. It felt, there were things that in like each of those movies like that I liked, but like it felt like there was no like nuance. It was very on the nose for a lot of them. And like, once again, I go into movies like wanting to like them. If I pay money to go see something, I want to like something. So I'll always like, I'll see things to like, but like, I think my biggest feeling after seeing all the DC movies this year was just kind of disappointment and just kind of meh. Cause like once again, my favorite DC movie of this year was Blue Beetle. And like, I think it's because it had heart and knew what it was. And like, even though it did have kind of the like hokiness to it, it had a cast that really worked and rocked. And like, there were things in that movie where like, as most DC movies went this year, where I was like, I don't think I want to see that again. Maybe like, you know, Jason Momoa as Aquaman, I'd love to see him again. But like, there were things that I just did. I don't want to see Ezra Miller as Flash again. I don't want to see where all Shazam maybe, like, but like it feels kind of meh to me. So
absolutely. Also, Conrad Carapax was our villain, alongside Victoria Cord. But no, I just your family is your weakness thing. I was like, okay, and I know that like he loves his family so much, and they're gonna help and all this stuff, but the way that they do bring it home that won me over again, it was leaning into that earnestness by showing, let's see how it was taken away from him. Let's lean into the hurt people thing, and it was like, no, like that payoff, like it did win me back over, but despite that idea running through the story, being a little hokey and being a little too on the nose, they ended up earning it retroactively. And like, you know, again, like these are silly stories, not silly. They are fanciful stories that, you know, there's a level of seriousness that is appropriate and a level of seriousness that, you know, there comes a point where it's like, well, you're trying to grade a squirrel on how well it swims.
And also, I think what works in Blue Beetle is like that family has been beat down, and like how relatable is that? Like, we've got this big corporation coming in that wants to take our house away, and like it all feels like you said, it feels earned, because like it does feel like there's a real world aspect to it where like, yeah, the corporation, the evil corporations are trying to buy these houses up and gentrification and all that. It's like, yeah, it's super relatable. So like,
yeah, well, and something that I really appreciated with this is that how well it balanced its tone. I think that the whole Nana with a laser minigun could have become a bit that went stale quickly.
It didn't.
And it didn't. Well, and I think the reason they didn't is because they do the initial gag of, you know, here's the doddering little, oh, yes, here's my little pens and my things, and she's not kind of present for a lot of what's happening. You know, like she's in the room, but she's not like engaging a lot. And then you see her let her braids down, and then they lean into the whole like, oh yeah, like she fought in like a revolution or two.
Hell
like,
yeah.
You know, like die, you imperialist pigs or whatever. And she was mowing those guys down. Like, it's great. It's wonderful. It's a great bit, and it's funny, but it works. And it was something that stuck out to me as like a highlight for me, because they take that, okay, like we got our sight gag of an old lady with a laser minigun. And then they balance that with that same scene that has like the punchline of like die, you imperialist dogs or whatever, where when she rescues Jaime, and it's like, okay, haha, that was cute. And then you see those guys coming down the hallway, and you have that moment where like it's played straight.
Mm-hmm.
It's not super serious. It's not overly silly. They play it straight of no. And again, it's that theme throughout the movie is that like the way that like family will uplift you. And she steps in front and like it's that very, again, it's a very small moment, but it has big repercussions emotionally, where she kind of like takes Jaime and tucks him behind her. You know, where it could have just been old lady with a laser minigun. Mm-hmm. But then it turns into a beat of I'm protecting who I
right
love.
And whose granny grandmama wouldn't do that for their grandkid if they could, like, and she's got the experience obviously, and I think she's die you imperialist pigs, like, yeah, absolutely. So like, once again, the family aspect of it like is believable and it works, and like it's you know, even I forget the love interest name in it. Even like her family trauma comes into it, and it's believable. And then like that's, I just think it's really really well done. And I think a lot of it there you could feel that there was like serious like there was work put into that, like that they really like wanted to like make that like the family aspect of it like really really work, and like
it stings. It stings.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, like every actor in play here, like they had such incredible chemistry, and I'm so glad that James Gunn basically said that like Xolo's Jaime is gonna be present in his universe, and I'm really happy to hear that because I loved this cast so much.
Same.
Real quick, what are your thoughts on Shazam: Fury of the Gods?
It's fine. I like there was a stretch where I think we got like, Aquaman, Shazam, Wonder Woman, and like I was like, okay, the trajectory of the DCEU is like good. Like, show me more.
Yeah. $1 billion.
Yeah,
didn't
absolutely.
Make as much money, but still really good and heartfelt.
There were once again we got some of the parts that I loved in Shazam. Like that cast also rocks, and like the family part is probably the best part of that movie too. But like I didn't care about anybody else besides like the Batson family or the adopted family, the Shazam family. And so like the villain was just kind of meh. And like it felt kind of meh. And I think my biggest thing like with some of the later DCEU movies was that like, yeah, it was okay, but like I kind of like where like it sets up where they go from here. It's the same thing because like the after credit scene in that is like basically Shazam. Spoilers for Shazam: Fury of the Gods if anyone cares. But like it's the lady from Peacemaker like setting him up and like him joining the Justice Society and of America, stuff like that. So like that's cool. And like if Zachary Levi comes back, I wouldn't mind it, but like given like how he's kind of like shed on everything, and said stuff like middle fingers up, like we'll see, but like it's just okay, like, and that's okay. A movie doesn't have to be great, but like it just like was like, it is what it is.
Yeah, like I said, I never got a chance to see it. It was on my list, but I kind of ran out of time. So there's that. Moving into our final movie, the DCEU, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I had to work at like a weird like middle of the day time last week, and there's a movie theater at the mall I work at. So I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna make the time to see Aquaman. If anything, I was invested enough in this franchise, like the DCEU, that is, that I got to see this last movie in the theater.
Yeah,
I owe it to it. It's fine, you know, like in that, and I think that really is kind of like the death knell of the DCEU, is that so much of it is in that fine category for me. Like I don't I don't want to keep comparing them, but like, I think the thing with the MCU for me is that even the movies, people were like, oh, this is terrible, this is whatever. Like, I came out of it like, yeah, but there was a lot of character here.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of there was a lot of style here. And again, people say, it's factory line movies. I'm like, no, they have a lot of personality though.
Mm-hmm.
Each one of them in their own ways. Like, even the ones that people like vehemently dislike, I was like, no, there's something here. Where again, like, I do feel like the DCEU for the most part, that is where, for me at least, what people refer to as like the cookie cutter superhero movies.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the thing that like really for me did not work for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom was this is where the humor of a superhero movie starts to fall apart for me. I think that so much of this movie lost its willingness from the first one to play it straight.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think Arthur's characterization, I think, was just awful. And it was something that really took me out of the movie a lot. Was that a lot of it just kind of turned into Jason Momoa being like, Jason Momoa, man, I got my beer, I got my food, and like, again, like, characters have been adapted and changed in their screen to comic appearances back and forth. They got Aquaman close enough to Arthur in the first movie that I could live with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that doing an Arthur Curry who is like a reluctant king doesn't quite work for me. I think that I like more I like my Aquaman having his duty to the ocean and having to like be swayed towards the surface. And I think that doing Aquaman as, I guess I'm fucking king. I guess I have this duty. It doesn't work for me. And then you couple it with Arthur just being like, fuck yeah, brother, here's my Guinness. Woo!
Well, that's so interesting. And maybe I just don't have the knowledge of Aquaman like in the comics, but like for me, that's what like works best. I like when Aquaman like Momoa leans into the Momoa-ness of it all. Cause like I think like, it is very Arthurian, like, the reluctant king. He doesn't like, he pulls the sword, he's worthy, but like he doesn't really want it. I like that dynamic. I don't think they did it particularly well because like they like, what are the politics of Aquaman besides like there's a council and like they don't want to go to the surface and like they don't agree with what Arthur said, what Arthur's doing, but like it just I feel like there was a lot of intrigue and like cool stuff. Like there's obviously like a very, very cool like Game of Thronesiness to it that you could do, but they just didn't because like I don't know if this was the right movie to do it, but like there is obviously a lot of stuff that they just like gloss over, which I wish they had leaned into it a little bit more because like it feels like an afterthought. Like it just doesn't feel like he's a bad king because he doesn't want to be king and like he doesn't really want to do it. Anyway.
Well, two things. One, I like the reluctant king archetype.
Mm-hmm.
What I was frustrated by is I think there's a difference between reluctant king of I am duty bound to rule. However, I do not want this burden, but I will live up to it for the people who need me.
Mm-hmm.
There's that reluctant king of like the most responsible man with power is the man who never asked for it type thing. Whereas with Arthur, it just kind of turns into like him like, I actively hate this fucking job and I don't want it. Like it felt like Arthur, like literally having a gig that he grew tired of, that he's just like waiting for his opportunity to put in his 2 weeks as King of Atlantis. And that's the element of it where it didn't work for me. Like if it were I'm honor bound and duty bound to do the right thing here, that can't be juxtaposed with him falling asleep in court. You know what I mean? Because like you make it abundantly clear that Arthur hates doing this. Mm-hmm. It's not, oh, I have a duty to my people, and even though I did not ask for this title, I got to do what I got to do. Like he's actively doing everything he can to not do what he does. There is no real tension for him as like the reluctant king because he's already spending more than half of his time on the surface. You know, like he's just kind of like blitz that part of balancing the life, and it's just well, I hate the one and I like the other.
And a lot of that, like, I feel like that's a big problem in the movie is that a lot of it is just like the important stuff feels glossed over. You know, like he had a kid, like there was no like.
And if I may interrupt for a moment, that was the other thing I wanted to say is that the thing that like hit me like a freight train is that opening. Here's what's happened to me since Justice League thing. I was sitting there and I was like, there's a whole second movie right there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
There's a whole fucking movie about Aquaman accepting his role as king, you know, like truly falling in love with Mara, having a kid, like, you know, this royal wedding.
Willem Dafoe dying. Willem Dafoe dying.
Fucking dying. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, there's a whole ass movie that they gloss over as the prologue. And that stunned me. Like, and again, and I'm not just saying like, oh, like there's a more interesting movie there, but like there's a movie where you get to explore like what it means to be the duty-bound king, you know, what it means for him, this person trapped between two worlds, a world that doesn't understand his greatness and another world that actively hates him because of his lineage to the other. Like him grappling with that, him grappling with this, you know, xenophobic, like fucked up Atlantean court. Like you take some elements that are actually in the movie, put them into the prologue. There's a great other Aquaman movie there that this movie could be the third entry to. But it's just like right past it. And it's just, you know, I don't like to engage with the whole, oh, this character is affable and kind of goofy and therefore they're incompetent and bad and he's a stupid man in a woke movie. I don't do any of that nonsense. But like by the same token, like Aquaman is like fucking wildly incompetent throughout most of this movie. As a leader, as like it's just like I just really disliked his characterization here, and it was kind of disappointing because like what you were saying earlier with like the Momoification of Aquaman, the first Aquaman, and I even say both cuts of Justice League do well, is that you get Momoa's like you get his charisma of like, yeah, I'm this stocky, big, intimidating dude with like this like defined this sense of honor, and I'm doing my thing, and like that works in like his action beats of that, like I am the Guinness drinking bad motherfucker of the water, and that works there. There's like one of my favorite moments, one of my favorite shots in the first Aquaman is that triumphant when he hoists up the trident. Like that is Jason Momoa's Aquaman, like at its peak, because it is taking the like Atlantean, like I am the king and I rule the ocean, with like the Jason Momoa fuck yeah brother element, and it worked so perfectly in concert. Where here, like, you know, I felt kind of empty with his like big speech at the end, and it ending with like, I'm Aquaman, bitch, drops the mic. Whoa!
And that was so clearly like, I'm Iron Man. Like that's what they were trying to do with that. And like, I don't like hate it, but like it felt so forced. And like, I will say, like, I think because the universe was ending, they probably like couldn't like get the movie that maybe they wanted to do, because like a lot of it did feel kind of like, you know, really the real villains of the movie were Black Manta and global warming. Like those are the two big villains of the movie. And like I'm very, very sad if all indications is this was Momoa's last entry as Aquaman. I'm disappointed, not because like, you know, I will always want to see more Momoa as Aquaman, but like that this was what they went out on, because like I feel like if you give his Aquaman, the right story, there is a fantastic, wonderful, like
absolutely
Aquaman story to be told. Like, and like I'm really, really nervous that they'll go back to someone like kind of in the traditional, like, you know, blonde hair, blue eyes Aquaman that I don't want to see. Like, because like I think that there's so much, just a lot of interesting, like, I think it's an interesting take on the character. Like, just
I do too. When it works, it works, and when it doesn't, it is like falling apart at the seams for me.
I don't disagree that it's falling apart at the seams when it's bad, but it's just I think once again there is a lot to like about Momoa as Aquaman, and I think that there were bits and pieces of this movie that I liked. You know, I liked the dynamic between him and Ocean Master in this. Was like, I was a little nervous they would go a little too hokey, but there were parts that were, but like, good Lord, if they didn't have chemistry together. And it's, I can't believe that they took an actor. I forget how to say his name, but like, who plays Black Manta.
Yahya Abdul-Mateen II.
He brings his A game every time, and like I think he did, but like I just think that version of the character is a little hollow. You know, like it feels very.
He's one note. He's one note. He plays that note really good, but it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Note. Like because you've seen his Dr. Manhattan. You know, like he's got layers.
He's got chops. Yeah,
he's got chops and dick. But like,
he's got chops and dick.
I'm sorry. But anyway, it just, once again, it felt one note, and like I wanted more, because like I know he's more than capable of doing that. And maybe that's like he didn't want to do that, and like maybe that's not this isn't the right movie to do that in. But like I know what he can do, and I know what all those actors can do. I know what James Wan can do. And it just felt like it kind of went on like a instead of what it could have been like a triumph. Yeah.
It felt like, okay, guys, we're going out on Aquaman. You know, it's a half day at work.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
I think that the thing that, as we go into doing our rankings here, that really sends home what the DCEU represents was that post-credit scene. And the fact that it was the last thing we see is that we see Orm sitting down after his redemption, sits down to eat this nice juicy burger. And then Orm decides, I'm going to put a cockroach on this burger. And then he takes a big bite out of what looks like an incredible cheeseburger that has a cockroach on it. And
but that Orm ultimately enjoys. You know,
that Orm ultimately enjoys. But but like I feel like the DCEU is the cockroach is a burger with a cockroach on it.
Do you feel that's James Wan like being like, fuck y'all, like this is how I feel?
I told my girlfriend, I was like, if this was not a visual metaphor for this whole franchise, I am fucking shocked that somebody did not shoot it down, because I cannot be the first person who made that comparison. I cannot be the first person who saw this movie and went, oh yeah, that's the DCEU. You have these incredible stories, this amazing talent in front of and behind the camera, working with this pantheon of modern day mythological gods. And on that burger, there is a big, crunchy, disgusting cockroach hanging out on this burger. You know, like the burger is the Suicide Squad and Aquaman 1 and Wonder Woman and Birds of Prey and great movies with great actors, with fantastic vision from the people behind the camera. And then the cockroach that just lingers over it. It's like kind of all the shit Zack Snyder made.
Here's my hot take. It's not the shit that Zack Snyder made. It is the shit that Zack Snyder made, but it's the shit that the studio interfered on what Zack Snyder was making.
Absolutely. That's totally part of the equation. And as we get into like this conversation about like talking about the DCEU posthumously, and it's something that Travis and I have talked about 1,000 times, and this might be one of the last times we ever have to say it. The biggest mistake that was made along the way, truly, in my opinion, was the format and the way that they decided to piece out how they would put together their Justice League.
Oh,
your first movie is this like depressing, almost to me, like hopeless iteration of a Superman story. And then from that, you go into Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, where you decide somehow that you're going to turn The Dark Knight Returns and the death of Superman into the catalyst for the foundation of the Justice League.
Nah, here's the thing.
Crackhead behavior. Like so much crack was smoked there that I do not understand. But I think that decision that you made the call that Superman is dead and then he came back to help the Justice League, and now we don't know what's going to happen with the Justice League. Now that this whole universe is in like weird disarray in the immediate aftermath of Justice League, I truly think that if they had not called their shot and killed off and brought back Superman for a Justice League movie, I think that this franchise would have had a much easier time rolling with these punches and just kind of kicking the can down the road. Maybe we never get a Justice League movie, but at the very least, we could get movies that like could explore these characters without having to dance around what the fuck happened at the end of the first chapter, because it's just so crazy to have to deal with so early. It's like killing off Tony Stark in the first Avengers.
I have a couple of thoughts. Zack Snyder, I think he's a really, really impressive, really, really talented filmmaker. He's a shitty writer. Like he just like nothing about like the studio version of Batman v Superman Justice League is like makes any coherent sense and should not be the foundation to build a movie universe. That's number one. Number two, I think that there are parts of Zack Snyder's just like the story beats that work. Ben Affleck as Batman, just flat out, absolutely works on every, like even like the Martha stuff works for me. Like it's
same. I am a defender of Martha.
People like it's people harp on it because like it's easy to harp on, but like Ben Affleck kind of rocks as Batman, and like I would have loved to see more. I think they rushed everything. If this had like, so if you had done Man of Steel first, okay, I'm okay with that, and then had like done the opening of Batman v Superman, where like Batman sees like, you know, what Superman did to like Metropolis and Gotham and all that stuff, and then like lead that into a Batman movie? Sure, absolutely. Where he's worried about Superman, he has to deal with like, you know, with a Superman in this world and like where his like the where he like fits in this world. Great. But like they rushed everything because they wanted to compete with Marvel, when what Marvel did, they had, how many movies did we have till Avengers? We had Iron Man, Hulk. 2, Hulk, Thor, Captain America. That's 5 movies to set up, and like that's 5 individual movies where you all get like members of the Avengers in it. You went Man of Steel and then introduced Batman and
killed
also
off Superman.
Then you introduced Batman in Batman v Superman. You introduced Batman, Aquaman, The Flash, Lex Luthor, Doomsday, Cyborg, Wonder Woman. That's insane. Just absolutely insane that they did that.
Yeah, and honestly, like even that notwithstanding, again, I think that you have an easier task ahead of you if it doesn't begin with killing fucking Superman. Like, that's such a bizarre roadblock to give yourself. And then your follow-up movie is not Wonder Woman. It's not a Flash movie. It's not an Aquaman movie. It's not a Cyborg movie. It's fucking Suicide Squad.
That's insane. Like, and here's another thing. The thing, like, a common thread that I've have said to myself throughout the DCEU is that, like, okay, yeah, I might not like that movie, or I might not like the whole thing, but like, I like where it ends. I actually like where the Joss Whedon Justice League ends, where it's like a hopeful Superman, like where they are in this world. But like, at the same time, like, you should have given me hopeful Superman before, like, he dies. Like, it shouldn't have been like Henry Cavill shouldn't have had, like, he should have had like 2 or 3 movies to like fully become the Superman that everybody loves. Before you kill him, before you do the Batman v Superman.
I didn't even get a chance to finish all of my Adventures of Superman, but I watched like the first half of the first season, and like, even then, like, the idea of, oh, you have to build the Superman being this like paragon of hope. No, the fuck you don't. No, you don't. Clark Kent can just be, yeah, I was like raised right by my family, and like, I take a personal investment in the idea of keeping people safe, and I like, I aspire to these ideals. Like, Superman is like, Clark Kent is just Superman in that show, and it works. I do truly loathe the idea of Superman having to like grapple with the idea of people looking up to him. And you can explore, the juxtaposition of his human and Kryptonian heritage. You can explore like the burden of like, what happens if I fail? What happens if I don't live up to this ideal? But it's just Superman being bummed out bummed out by being Superman. And on that level, and again, like, you don't get Superman embracing his role as this arch hero until he gives his life. And then in your Justice League movie, you have to spend like a good like third of your movie trying to find a way to resurrect him, to then have him be evil again at first.
Say what you will. I think Marvel kind of has a similar problem now, where they try to do too much too quickly, even though, like, I like a lot of the stuff that happened in Phase 4, but like,
Same.
It does. I understand the criticism. I think that, like, if you start, the DCEU started at Phase 4 and like did not start at Phase 1.
Yeah.
Which, like, you're not going to have a successful universe, and you haven't had a successful universe because of that. It needs to feel earned. It needs to feel like these characters, like people have grown up with the MCU. Who grew up with the DCEU? Like, they don't remember it fondly. Like, they just like, some people like Henry Cavill as Superman. I do, and like, some people might have grown up with him, but like, I'm excited to see where it goes from here. So like,
absolutely. And I think that, like, I don't want to level like the issues I have with Cavill Superman at Cavill, because the moments they actually give him to act like fucking Superman are amazing. And they're in the fuck Joss Whedon, but Joss Whedon version of Justice League. Like, I'm sorry. Like, yeah, he looks cool in the black suit, but I will take, what was it? Like, I like truth and I'm a big fan of justice, before he caves Steppenwolf's fucking face in. And the way that he's like playfully joking around with the Flash. Yeah, that's Superman.
Yeah.
And absolutely. I don't know why he had to die to be like that.
I don't either. And that's, I think your broader point that, like, to start with the death of Superman on your second movie is insane. Like, it's just like, is objectively not a great way to start your universe, especially for a character as iconic as Superman.
But yeah, no, and again, it is the route they took. That, again, like, okay, you killed off Superman, well, we should get to live in this world that is without Superman for a little bit then to like make his return feel so much more important. And then we take this bizarre detour into a Suicide Squad movie, and then jump backwards 100 years into Wonder Woman. And I think the Wonder Woman movie is great. But why do we do it like this? Again, like for all intents and purposes, the Flash and Aquaman and the Flash and Aquaman and Wonder Woman are already active in the universe. So like, I don't understand why it was this weird, like they're active, but they're reclusive. And again, that's another thing that never worked for me with Aquaman in the DCEU is that like, yeah, he's reclusive because he's underwater and he's hanging out and he's got a fucking trident already. And oh, okay, so he's Aquaman. And the movie's like, well, no.
Not yet. Not
yet, really. But like he is, but he isn't. And I'm like, oh, well, okay. That's interesting. What's up with that? Oh, well, the Barry Allen has super speed. He's access to the Speed Force, but like he's not the Flash yet. Oh, okay. Well, except he is kind of. He does already have a suit, and he's already crime fighting. And it's like, what is happening?
Also, like, I'm going back to like remembering the Flash now. Like, like Barry didn't get his powers from Man of Steel, correct? Is that like
until right before Man of Steel, and then he tried to partake in the Battle of Metropolis.
That's crazy. Like it's just that's crazy. That's insane. Like it's just like and to like they don't even acknowledge it until like the Flash, like that he tried to like do something. Like I think we're laughing so much and saying like this is insane because like it's objectively like there was no plan and like I think say what you will about Zack Snyder and people have said a lot.
I have plenty.
I know you have. If he had been able to like at least like do kind of his vision, like at least like there would have been like something coherent. No coherence at all. No coherence.
There would have been a beginning and an end had Zack Snyder had his druthers. But I do think that on some level, like, but again, it goes to this weird place. Like you look at Zack Snyder's outline for like his version of these movies, where Lois is pregnant with Bruce's baby, and like all of this, like, what the fuck is going on? And like this whole idea of like this sword of Damocles hanging over everybody's head as to whether or not Superman's going to turn, which again, I cannot stress enough, is bonkers. That your big bad threat isn't even Darkseid. It's Superman. It's this question as to whether or not Superman's going to become Darth Vader. What? With all the same foreshadowing. It's the same level of foreshadowing there. Like, that is an insane creative decision. And again, I understand, like, Zack has all the right in the world to adapt and play in the sandbox. Like, I'm not like him making creative decisions is not inherently bad. It's the ones he chose to make and the ways that he decided to carry it out. Like, and again, like these huge roadblocks we keep talking about that I think stalled out the narrative and made it so that like all of the subsequent DC movies had to like play in this weird sandbox of like, well, we can't do anything too big. We can't set the stakes too high because we don't know if there's going to be a Justice League movie. Like, again, like let's not forget the span of 3 years where every other week Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck were out of their roles consistently. But like even then, like Zack Snyder built the death of Superman into his story. That was a Snyder move. That you kill Superman off in the second movie. That was always part of his vision. So I do think that on some level, I do think this franchise was damned to fail. Like between studio interference and Zack Snyder just having this bizarre, incoherent grasp on these characters.
Once again, it's a miracle any of these movies are watchable, and I think that it goes back to my point that I think Zack Snyder's a great filmmaker. He's not a great writer, and the fact that he's able to take what he's written in his head and like convey it in a way that's like not like automatically like the most like the biggest bullshit in the entire world. It is, but like it's at least it's watchable, you know, like it's just that I feel like that like condenses my thoughts on like the DCEU a lot. It was like just like I can't like.
No, I understand. It is really a lot. And again, like it is the story of wasted potential, you know? I think it's why the Flash, no pun intended, falls flat on its face.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that like it's trying to have this big end game, like we're gonna but like revisit these moments that shape this universe. And like it wants to be triumphant. It wants to have this big moment of like, here's all of these things coming full circle. And like, I don't care. I don't care, you know, like we decided that like, you know, the Schrodinger's Batman of it all with Ben being in things and then out of things and then Michael Keaton coming in and then, you know, Batgirl being canned, playing the huge role in this that it does. You know, it's just there's no sense of like this like it does not have the weight that the story wants to pretend it has.
And like there's a lot. I was really excited for the Flash. I really really was because like I like I love the animated version of what is it, Flashpoint?
Yes,
like that's a great story. And like I thought like, oh, they're gonna do that. Michael Keaton's back. Like it's gonna rock. And like it ended up, my favorite parts of that movie were like, once again, I hate going back to like the family stuff, but like the stuff with Barry and his mom always like it works for me. And then like George Clooney as Batman works the most because I think that's just like such like of all the people you could have chosen, like that's just objectively funny that you chose like George Clooney. Like that's really really funny to me. And like I think that George tried more in like his like 5 seconds of screen time than Michael Keaton did in the entirety of like however much he's in that movie.
Keaton was sleepwalking.
Yeah, absolutely. Like he did not. I want to know how much money he made because like this might be a hot take, but like I've never been a big Keaton Batman guy. Like I think that every other version of Batman is way more interesting than Keaton. Like sue me, but like it felt like phoned in and like nothing really worked for me. But like go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, you know, and again, like I do think that as much as people want to point the finger at Marvel and Disney and Star Wars and holds those stories up to this weird standard that no other like fandom IP franchise stuff is ever held to, I'm not here to defend the Walt Disney Corporation, but the way that people are like, oh, it's nostalgia bait. Oh, it's just here so people can clap for the thing that they know. I've never gotten that vibe from Marvel or Star Wars. I got that vibe the entire time watching The Flash.
Oh, dude, what did you? So for like the big like multiverse stuff where you had the Nicolas Cage Superman, which is like
cool Batman without ears.
Yeah, it's cool for us, but like, explain that to like your like.
Yeah, Joe Donut does not understand why the fuck Nick Cage showed up for 13
I had
seconds.
to explain that to my mom, and like it was just like, and like we watch superhero movies together all the time, but she's like, now why was Nick Cage in that? And I'm like, well, like if you knew really, like it'd be cool, but like it's just, and also like it's an AI version of that too. Like it did not feel real. It didn't feel like. And I don't like fault the director. What's Andy? He did it. I think that he did the best that he could, and like I'm okay with him doing the Brave and the Bold, the Batman movie that they're doing in the DCEU. I think that rocks. But like, it just like everything about that movie felt like you said, what people think that Disney does with Star Wars and all that stuff is what they did with the Flash. Like it just. Because who cares about the George Reeves version of Superman? Who cares about Adam West showing up? Who cares about all this stuff?
Well, because they didn't show up. There was no meaningful thing. It was this like bizarre like art. Again, I understand it was like the Speed Force like artistic rendering or whatever, but it looked horrifying and terrible, and it felt ghastly. real quick before we move on, do you know my special connection to the Nick Cage Superman stuff?
No, I don't, but I'd love to hear it.
So there's a very famous clip of Kevin Smith talking about Superman. Superman Lives?
Yes.
What's the name of the Nick Cage one?
Yes,
and
Superman
how
Lives.
Brainiac was that one of the producers was like,
oh, the spider?
The
spider?
Yeah, the one of the producers was like, and then Brainiac's gonna have this giant mechanical spider that breathes fire, and it's gonna.
Is this Wild Wild West? Please.
And then everyone was like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Superman Lives never happens." That same director or that same producer went to work on Wild Wild West.
And then the big villain of Wild Wild West was a big mechanical spider.
Is Arliss Lovelace's 80-foot spider mech that breathes fire? What a fucking picture!
What a picture! I pour myself a cognac.
Hey,
cognac.
Me every time I watch Wild Wild West. But yeah, Bill, are you ready to do some rankings?
I'm so ready to do some rankings.
All right, I'm going to throw yours on screen first.
Okay.
I'll let you walk us through.
Okay.
Can you see it? I mean, I'm assuming you also have the picture on your phone still.
I can't. Here, I'll pull it up. But so, do I still have it? Maybe I don't have it. But
so you sent it to me at least.
I did. So we're gonna start with my S tier. So I think I've mentioned how much I love Aquaman. Aquaman is my favorite DCEU movie. I just think it mixes so many different genres. You know, it's parts of it feel Star Warsy, parts of it feel Lord of the Rings, parts of it feel like kind of like what I want in a traditional like comic book movie. I think it's fun, it's whimsical. It's got Julie Andrews as a Kraken. Like it's like I feel like we glossed over that, and then like also in the second one we glossed over Martin Short being a Shark King or whatever he was, like the a king of the underworld in where he goes with Orm. So
oh yeah,
I think it's a straight shot of Yellow Sun, and I love it so much. And I'll always love Jason Momoa as Aquaman for it. You just want me to go like through them, or do you want to like
go down, okay. go through your list, go through your rankings.
I think the Suicide Squad, just like pure, like it's just a good movie. Like it's fun. It's James Gunn and his most James Gunniness, and I love the entire cast. I would love to see all of them come back in some capacity. If they do, I think it's a shame that they got rid of Rick Flag, because like I feel like Joel Kinnaman was just like starting to get his mojo for that, and I just think it's a really good movie. Wonder Woman is like just like hopeful and wonderful and everything that I want in a superhero movie. People might not like this. I love Zack Snyder's Justice League. I think that, say what you will about Zack Snyder and his what he wants to do with a DC movie. It's well made. I think that it's well acted. Whatever whims I have about the story, or I'm willing to accept, because I really like it. I remember staying up late and watching all 4 hours of it when it came out. And I really like it. Shazam is very much a Bill movie, because like it is lighthearted and fun, and I like Zachary Levi. The whole family dynamic is great. I like Birds of Prey a lot because it has Obi-Wan Kenobi as Black Mask, and he eventually blows up, and I think that alone, he did not have the high ground in that, and that is.
He did not. He also has one of the funniest lines in the entire DCEU,
which is,
"He's touching my things. He's fucking with my things."
And I just think that like whenever you get Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, if we never see her again, like I think that it's wonderful that we got 3 movies where like she's perfectly cast, she's perfect in the role, and like
I love the Harley trilogy.
I think that any person that plays Harley, even Lady Gaga, is going to have problems being compared to her. Blue Beetle, I also like. We've talked about that a little bit. I think that also scratches that itch of like what I like in superhero movies. We talked about the earnestness to it. I think it's wonderful, and I have fan cast who is it? Jason Sudeikis as the original Blue Beetle.
Oh, it's like, Ted Cord. I love Sudeikis as Ted Cord. That's
because like that feel like the moment they showed his picture on like the family portrait or whatever, and like he had a mustache, it was like that's Jason Sudeikis, that's Ted Lasso, so that's his mom, or that's her dad. So anyway, I also, this might be controversial, I like Black Adam a lot. Because I think that like that's another like version of like that is just so well cast. It's a little dumb, but like like Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate, like
slam dunk.
Absolutely. And like my one like big problem with that movie is that they killed him immediately. Like because like I think they were like, we're not gonna, he's not coming
Why
back.
are we gonna use one of like the coolest, weirdest characters in the DC pantheon?
Yeah,
again?
It's I think that all works, and I think Hawkman works. I think Dwayne The Rock Johnson works as Black Adam. It's just, for me, it's fun. And if they had like, there's another world where like if they had like actually gone off and done like the after credit scene where like it's Black Adam versus Superman. Hey, let's talk. I think there's a fun movie down the line about that. Man of Steel is just kind of boring. Like I don't really like. I've never liked it as much as everybody else does, which is fine. It's just kind of there's stuff to like. Once again, Zack Snyder makes it like he's a good filmmaker, but not a great writer. So that's another example of it. I kind of think that Aquaman in the Lost Kingdom, for me, because like of the Momoa-ness of it all, is a little better. But like I just think based on like right there, I've sat longer with Man of Steel, so maybe we'll come back in like a year and my thoughts will be different. But drunk in a bar with a 5 o'clock shadow.
I did not name these, by the way. I found this template on Tier List Maker, and I thought it was very funny.
So, like, actually, like the beginning of the Flash, like, you know, where like you have all the Justice League, and you know they're acting as the Justice League. It's pretty cool. Ben Affleck finally said like he finally figured out how to play that character, which is like insane because like he had played the character for like almost 8 years at that point. So like, I like that, and then like everything else is just kind of meh. So if I was drunk at the bar with 5 o'clock shadow, I'd really enjoy the Flash, but I'm not right now. Suicide Squad, once again, that's another. There are so many examples of the DCEU where like they have a great cast where it's just squandered. Like Will Smith as Deadshot rocks. Like that's would love to see.
He wears a cowboy hat.
He does. He's getting jiggy with it. Wild Wild West.
Oh yeah,
and like
very jiggy in the Wild Wild West.
Once again, Margot Robbie. I don't even hate Jared Leto as the Joker. You know, it's we all do live in a society, and he makes a really, really great point that we all live in a society.
How have you never come to my defense in our group chat? How have you never come to my defense while I'm getting fucking flamed for defending Jared Leto Joker?
Listen, here's the problem with the DCEU. Casts are great. Story's not. Utilization of the cast, never great. There's a good Jared Leto Joker story there. It's never happened. It will never happen, unfortunately. Because, once again, we live in a society and nothing is fair. So
we live
in a society.
No, I'm not going to kill you. I'm just going to hurt you. Real bad.
Anyway.
God, so my list is going to be so batshit insane.
I know. I'm so ready for it. The Justice League is my next one because, like, once again, it just kind of happens, and like, if they had gone off from that movie, and like, you know, I like where everything ends in that movie because, like, you get the hopeful Superman, you get the you could potentially set up is interesting, but like everything else in there is just kind of like squandered, and I don't like it. We talked about Shazam, 2 Fury of the Gods. Just kind of happens. Nothing particularly memorable. And then the worst movie in the DCEU, which I was really, really excited for. And I'm going to bite my tongue, but Wonder Woman 84.
Talking shit.
Is so bad. Like I remember, like I was so excited when that movie came out and they released it on HBO Max. So Mom and Annie and my sister and I watched it together, and I just like cannot remember being more disappointed. Like a swing and a whiff, like just fully on every capacity. It doesn't work even a little bit. And that, that's another example of that cast like being squandered. And even the extras, like are good talent, but like ultimately just like, even if they're only in it for like 0.5, like in the like 0.5 seconds, aren't great. Just doesn't work for me. So Wonder Woman 84 or WW 84.
Wawa 84.
Wawa 84. Wah wah.
All right, so my list.
Oh shit. Okay.
Kryptonite.
Interesting.
My least favorite movies. I have Man of Steel. I have said before, I'll pull the list up again as we go because mine's formatted bigger and covers the entire screen. Or no, I'll just leave it up. I'll be top. So Man of Steel, I think a movie this boring with this much of a depressing fucking Superman is a crime. I remember back when Nerd Academy Movie Club was a thing, and we were going back to rewatch the Zack Snyder movies. And I was like, yeah, I have a lot of mixed opinions about Batman v Superman. I have a lot of complicated feelings about that movie. But yeah, no, Man of Steel was good. I remember liking Man of Steel, and we watched it, and there just came a point where, like, when we did the audio commentary, where I was like, I fucking hate this.
It's not good. It's not a good movie.
It's so fucking bad. I do not understand the amount of people who gaslit themselves into thinking this is a good Superman movie. Like, and I'm not even going to try to do the high top films like, oh, it's a good movie, but a bad Superman movie, the way that like people love to do with Homecoming. We're like, oh, Spider-Man Homecoming is a good movie, but it's not a good Spider-Man movie.
Oh, that's wrong. That's
Man of Steel
that's a bad take.
Is a bad movie, and it's a worse Superman movie. It's just so meandering and lifeless and without fun and whimsy. Next up, Flash. Again, I didn't hate it, but I just don't like what it stands for. It just felt like it was the Flash and Black Adam are so low on this list because
I don't agree with Black Adam at all. Like I like Black Adam a lot.
I know you like Black Adam, and I respect you for it. I just these movies are so weighed down for me. Like talking about it in like the greater context of the DCEU by what I know happened in the making of these movies. Like I know The Flash was a production nightmare made worse by Ezra Miller being a fucking weirdo, made worse by all the weird like deep fake cameos, made worse by this like weird attempt at nostalgia for a franchise that never got to get off its feet, it just doesn't work for me. And it's big in the way that they were like, oh yeah, it's the Flash, Batman 2023. And Michael Keaton sleepwalking. For me, one of the few redeeming qualities of this movie is Sasha Calle as Supergirl and getting to see Michael Shannon as General Zod again. Same thing for Black Adam. I do not like The Rock. He annoys the shit out of me. And watching this whole movie, knowing the reality of how The Rock has his bizarre contract where he can't lose a movie or he can't lose a fight in a movie, permeating the fact that he just does not lose fights that he's clearly was meant to, like in the hands of a competent screenwriter, he would have lost. Black Adam being retrofitted into this anti-hero role because The Rock won't play a villain. All of it, none of it worked for me. And I am so happy that we will never see a movie where he has to fight Superman, because I refuse to watch a movie where The Rock will not even accept the idea that he might lose to Superman. I just put Shazam Fury of the Gods on here. So that's Kryptonite. That's my bottom tier. I had to put Shazam somewhere. Wonder Woman 1984. I liked it when I first saw it. I thought it was stylish. I think that there were some things in there that just like aesthetically really worked for me that I enjoyed. But again, the movie doesn't really hold up. It's got some really weird shit in it creatively that I just will never understand. So yeah. Zack Snyder's Justice League, again, I like this version of the movie. I enjoy Zack Snyder's Justice League, especially as its own like Elseworlds DC story. However, I cannot put this any higher out of sheer frustration with the Snyder cult. And with Zack Snyder.
I understand.
Like it's one of those things that, like, you know, I'm glad his vision got to see the light of day. The way it happened is fucking unconscionable. And WB is never going to put the genie back in the bottle for what they did. And it's going to affect every single person working in Hollywood for the rest of their lives. The fact that Zack Snyder built a director's cut into Rebel Moon to then celebrate the fact that he's releasing his director's cut, that pisses me off so much. He has a gimmick now. And it is, oh, you didn't like my theatrical cut? Wait till you see my director's cut with more hookers and blow.
Which is so weird because, like, he seems like such a nice dude. Like, everything that, like, I will never, like...
He seems like a decent guy, and then you remember that time he quoted Mussolini about the Snyder Cut?
But then he told Geeks and Gamers, I can't condone what you guys are doing, like, to their face when, like, he was doing a charity event for them. Which is, like, such, like, a funny, like... It's just a funny move to me. Like, he just, like, he said, fuck y'all, I'm going to take... Fuck
Zack
y'all, I'm
Snyder
going home.
Is weird, and I have a lot of opinions about him.
I know you do, and that's okay. So,
next up, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Like I said, this movie just felt like it felt like everybody was doing a half day on the last day before Christmas break. This didn't work for me. Arthur's characterization fell flat in a lot of places. Yeah, Shazam. That was my drunk in a bar with a 5 o'clock shadow. Shazam, it's fine. I like it a lot. It's really cute. It's really fun. I dig it. Same with Aquaman. Again, these two movies were able to go, hey, superheroes are fun and whimsical, and what if we did fun and whimsical shit with these superheroes? My bullets also, bouncing off my... sorry?
I love how vastly different our lists are. Like, it's funny to me. But anyway, continue.
So when I made this list, the list did not have Batman v Superman available. So real quick, where does Batman v Superman fall on yours?
So the theatrical version or Ultimate Edition?
Do both.
Theatrical is probably Drunk at a Bar. I'd say
it's so funny out of context.
The Ultimate Edition is probably what was the other tier? Hold on, let me pull it.
The tiers above it were bullets bouncing off my chest and a straight shot of yellow sun.
I'm so tempted to do bullets bouncing off my chest because, like, I really do like that. But, like, I think, you know what? Fuck it. Bullets bouncing off my chest. I think it's an A tier for me, just like the Ultimate Edition. Like, because I think, say what you will about what he does, I think if he's allowed to do what he wants, I think it's good. Like, despite like him maybe not understanding the characters as much, but like I think it's wildly entertaining, and like just like once you show like a director's full vision, I think it works most of the time. So anyway, that's where it's at for me. So
So I also have Batman v Superman in my A tier, both versions. You know why? I like that fucking movie. I don't give a fuck what any of you people say. I love Batman v Superman. That movie is so dumb and silly. And I vehemently dislike a lot of decisions that are made in that movie. But man, whenever I see Ben Affleck as Batman on screen, oh boy, I'm a happy camper, let me tell you.
All I have to hear is absolute certainty, and I'm in. Like, that's absolute certainty.
You know, I had a conversation with Alden the other night. Alden Diaz, Octo Radio, anytime with Ken and Alden. You know, I was writing a question because we're doing like an inner geekdom style exhibition match for Epic Confrontations. And I wrote a question that had to do with dialogue from Batman v Superman. And Alden said something to the effect of, man, in a better Batman movie, that line would have slapped. And I looked him in his eyes. I said, there's not a single bad Batman line in that movie. And he said, really? What about tell me, do you bleed? You will. And I was like, I'm sorry. It's pronounced, tell me, do you bleed? You will. And I was like, yeah, man, that shit goes hard. Fucking Jarod in 2015, when that teaser trailer dropped, when I was on a show choir trip to fucking Washington, D.C.
Hell yeah.
We were huddled around in a circle watching the leaked trailer on my phone in a hotel room. And I almost ran through a wall.
I want you to know
that shit went hard.
You could not have said a more relatable Bill thing than being on a show choir trip and watching a nerdy thing. Like it. That's where I watched the Last Jedi trailer when I was in college, was for men's choir, was with my, Anyway, continue.
And there's not a bad line of Batman dialogue in that movie.
I agree.
Next up, Blue Beetle, for all the reasons you mentioned earlier. Wonder Woman, I think, is fantastic. I think it is a great way to introduce the general modern audience to this character. I think it's masterful. I think it's incredibly well acted. I think it's the only movie Gal Gadot really pulls her weight as an actor. That's not true. Both versions of Justice League, she's pretty good in as well. Not barring Kal-El, no.
Kal-El, no.
Also, fuck Gal Gadot. But Free Palestine. But yeah, no, Wonder Woman's great. I think it's a really fun, stylish action movie. I think it's fantastic. The Justice League, I think, if I had to pick, is my favorite version of the Justice League.
Interesting.
I think it feels the most like it feels so much more comic booky. I love Batman's arc of thinking. I love seeing Batman have to come to the conclusion that he does not have to give his life in order to save the world. That arc alone really, really, really sells me on Justice League. And Superman is depicted perfectly in it. Again, it's weird. It's bizarre. CGI mustache. He looks like he got stung by a bunch of bees. I know. I like it a lot. In my S tier, I will do this in least favorite to favorite of the S tier in a Straight Shot of Yellow Sun. I like Suicide Squad, and y'all will never change that.
What?
I love Suicide Squad. I love it. It's so fucking fun. That is a fun ass movie.
Listen, I'm not saying that I didn't see it twice in theaters, but it just it's not one of those movies that has not sat well with me over time.
Over time, listen, man, it's silly, it's dumb, it's incoherent. I understand that. It's just fun. The soundtrack is fun. The actors they don't have great material, but they're just having a good time. And again,
I think the best
all of you, Jared Leto is my favorite live action Joker.
The best part of that movie is the Bohemian Rhapsody trailer. And
the best part of that movie is every scene with the Joker in it.
Okay, well, I'm going to go piss girl after that.
But no, man, I love this movie. I saw it in theaters 8 times.
8?
Yeah.
Really?
I fucking love Suicide Squad.
Man, maybe I need to rewatch it because
it's great. Listen, it has Will Smith. It has here's another hot take. Hot take. Suicide Squad has the best Ben Affleck Batman moments because he's acting the most like Batman.
I don't disagree with that. Like
Bruce saving Harley. Deadshot, don't make me do this in front of your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And then his like dick measuring contest with Waller at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Batman, my Batman, right fucking there. Perfection. This movie's terrible. It's bad.
So
it is fucking incoherent. It is so much fun, and I love it so much.
I just love that you spent like 4 minutes like saying how much you love this movie, and then go, it's terrible, it's incoherent. but like that's like, I think for me, is this like your Rise of Skywalker? Because like I think
Suicide Squad is my Rise of Skywalker.
Because like I fully like I understand the criticisms of the Rise of Skywalker. Doesn't mean I don't love it unconditionally and will love it the rest of my life. So
yeah, dude, I think I would feel the same way about Batman v Superman if I didn't think it was like the beginning of this universe falling apart.
Yeah,
like if it were not again for like the weirdness with like the way they characterized Clark and killing him off in the second movie like a fucking lunatic, like that I think keeps me from like defending BVS the way I defend Suicide Squad. But I love this movie and no one will ever fucking change that.
If BVS was like the fifth movie, if that was like the Avengers equivalent, sure, absolutely do that.
Sure,
but I love that you love the Suicide Squad, or you love Suicide Squad.
And I also love the Suicide Squad.
You've got 2 Suicide Squad movies. You've got in your S tier. That's amazing. There's the
one.
Wait, no, hold on. You have 3 Harley Quinn. You have the 3 Harley Quinn movies as in your S tier, which is the right take. You know,
thank you.
I completely take back everything I just said about the Suicide Squad. Now looking at your list, the fact that all 3 Margot Robbie Harley Quinn movies are in your S tier. No notes. Perfect. Perfect place.
Thank you. No, I think I'll save the Suicide Squad for last. It is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Birds of Prey, sensational movie.
Mm-hmm.
I do truly think this is one of the best comic book movies of all time. It is so fun. It embraces like this feels like the most true to form depiction of Harley Quinn of all time. It is my favorite Harley Quinn story. I think it's wonderful. I think it is so charming. Margot's fantastic in it. The whole cast is amazing. Again, Ewan McGregor is Black Mask. 10 stars. Go home, tell your mother you're brilliant. Like
this goes in like in I love like food in movies, like just like making
that egg sandwich.
Oh my god, that bacon, egg and cheese sandwich that she had. Oh my god. And like the fact that like it's so good that I know like a little bit of like the behind the scenes stuff that like they use duck eggs because Margot Robbie's allergic to chicken eggs. So they used duck eggs for that. Like it's nothing. No breakfast sandwich has ever looked better.
No. And then the Suicide Squad. I think again, the Suicide Squad is the reason why James Gunn is helming the next version of the DC universe. Mm-hmm. It is what James Gunn is the best at, of blending heart with humor, with violence, with compassion, absurdity with the most grounded reality you've ever experienced. And that is like James Gunn is always so good at taking these 2 polar opposite emotions and colliding them into each other repeatedly. And in doing so creates some of the most human feeling comic book media we've ever seen. So yeah, that's my list. And you can pry it out of my cold, dead fucking hands while I listen to Purple Lamborghini by Rick Ross featuring Skrillex.
God, what a sentence. Like, just like, oh my God, that's wonderful.
Tweet that and at me. Mm-hmm. Now, before we go home, Bill.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no. Is this the surprise?
This is the surprise I have for us.
Oh, no.
This is an article from Screen Rant, which I'm normally not a big fan of, but it had the it had the most comprehensive list. So let's take a moment and celebrate the DCEU movies that never were.
Oh, no. So, Batgirl.
We'll save that one. Now, again, so some of these are like movies that like we didn't technically get, but I think got condensed into other things.
Mm-hmm.
Harley Quinn versus the Joker.
What would that have been? Like, that was just like Suicide Squad and like that was like Birds of Prey, wasn't it? Like,
yeah, I think it got turned into Birds of Prey. Gotham City Sirens.
Also Birds of Prey.
Hot take. I love Birds of Prey. I think it would have been even better if it was a Gotham City Sirens movie.
Who's in the Gotham City Sirens?
Harley, Catwoman, and Ivy.
Oh, that would have been great. Like, if you like the Harley Quinn, like the show on Max, like if that was like live action with Margot Robbie, yeah, hell yeah. I don't know who you would get as Catwoman. Well, maybe Zoe Kravitz. Like, that would have been like, I don't think that would have worked like in the universe. But anyway, keep going.
Jared Leto solo Joker movie.
Nope, absolutely.
I don't like the existence of any solo Joker movie. Here's another hot take. I vehemently dislike the Todd Phillips Joker movie.
Oh, it's my least favorite superhero movie ever. It's like the whole. Listen, I might get blasted for this. This is fine. That is the most school shooter friendly movie of my entire life. Like, maybe ever. Like, the main point of that. Yeah, society sucks. Yeah, people are mean. But like, how does he like solve his problems? He shoots people. He kills people. Like, that's like how like he becomes liberated. He kills people. Like that. I hate that movie.
It's awful. It's awful. But you know what?
I'm gonna go see the second one. But like,
I'm absolutely gonna see the second one.
Like,
I can't wait.
Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn. Absolutely. Anything Lady Gaga's in, I'm probably gonna go see. But like, come on. Like, it just. I hope that the second one isn't as school shooter friendly.
Now, I will say, even though I do say publicly, Jared Leto is my favorite Joker. I'm really glad this movie never came out, because I really would have made a fool of myself in a lot of ways with this.
Jared, the one Joker that I have cosplayed as was the Jared Leto Joker. So
I've cosplayed as comic book and Jared Leto.
Comic book and here, let me see if I can find it. It's been a minute, but
while you look for that, Green Lantern Corps. Oh yeah, look at Bill Leto, baby. Let me full screen it.
Look at that. And my friend who went as Harley, Madison, she did all like the tattoo work and all the make rocked. She like knew exactly what she was doing. She had a vision and she carried it out. That was so much fun. Oh my god, it was a lot of fun, mostly because like it's fun to like play someone else, and even if I don't like particularly love like that version of it, like it's fun. So anyway, continue.
Justice League Part 2. Here's a fun take I have. You know what I want? I don't need them to restore the Snyderverse. Make it into comics.
That'd be easy. That'd be really easy to do.
I would too. Shit out of that. Mm-hmm. I want to read Zack Snyder's unhinged fucking Justice League movies.
Well, you're gonna see it on Netflix, according to the Snyder Bros. So it's restore. Yeah.
Ben Affleck solo Batman movie with Joe Manganiello as Deathstroke.
God, that would have rocked. That like, once again, I'm a big Ben Affleck Batman guy. Like, I think he is my favorite Batman. Like, just he might not have my favorite, like, be in my favorite like superhero movie, but like just that version specifically. Like, wasn't he like writing and directing at one point? Like, Oscar-nominated writer, director, actor Ben Affleck writing a Batman movie? Are you kidding me? Like, that would be fantastic.
Cyborg.
I don't know. Like, I prefer his portrayal in the Snyder Cut as opposed to Justice League. So like, if you had gotten more of the like Snyder, like Cyborg, yeah, that could have been a good movie, but like, you know. Also, I love Cyborg. I love from like Teen Titans. Like that was my shit growing up. Like so I was always going to be a fan of that like character, but like I hope we get to see him in the DCU.
I agree. Booyah.
Booyah.
Deathstroke starring Joe Manganiello.
Do we need that? Like, yes, Joe Manganiello as Deathstroke, but like a Deathstroke specific movie? I don't know. That feels a little much.
The Trench TV show.
Oh, is that the James Wan where like it was all the monsters and stuff from Aquaman?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Here's one I would have liked to have seen. Ava DuVernay's New Gods.
Yep. Oh, anything Ava DuVernay does, absolutely will watch. Absolutely would love to see. I love her as a director. I love her. I just love her.
Another one that I would have been there opening night for. Deadshot.
That would have been jiggy. That would have been real jiggy.
It probably would have been awful, but I'd have been jigging my whole way through it.
Oh, absolutely. Jigging through the night.
Wonder Twins.
Why?
Black Canary.
Okay. I don't know if necessarily she's a solo movie worthy, but like, sure. I'll watch it.
Nightwing.
Yeah, would have watched Nightwing. Was that the one with?
I've been real confused because fucking
was that Arm and Hammer
dead?
Yeah, no? I thought Jason Todd was the one that died.
Nope, they're in Batman v Superman. There's a tombstone in the yard that reads Dick Grayson.
Oh, damn. Wasn't like Army Hammer like supposed to be Nightwing at one point, or am I making that up?
No, he was supposed to play Batman at one point, but not
in the George Miller Justice League. But maybe I don't remember where I heard that, but that would have been wild.
Guillermo del Toro's Justice League Dark.
Yep, that would have been great. Like this full on as someone who's been watching the Cabinet of Curiosities like the past like 2 weeks, that would have been like. I don't traditionally like gory like weird shit, but like it's just so well done that like I can't not like it. It's good.
I agree. Everything you're saying. Zatanna,
that's the
magician lady.
Yeah.
Zatanna Zatara.
Mm-hmm. Is she connected with Dr. Fate?
Yes.
Okay.
All the magic people kind of have like little relations there. Again,
Gotcha.
I think this would have depended on whether or not Justice League Dark was good.
Yep.
Funny thing when you announce a sequel or a spinoff to a movie that isn't out yet. Man of Steel 2.
Would have liked to have seen it. Because like once again, if this is like taking place in like the Justice League like version, like a sequel with Henry Cavill as Superman could have been interesting. I think he was just starting to get into that role and like figuring it out. Like Ben Affleck said, he just like started figuring out the role like 8 years after he first got it. So
I agree. And the coup de grace of canceled DC movies, Batgirl.
Man, I just hope one day, like, it's finished, right?
They finished shooting it. I don't know if it was like fully edited and CGI'd and such and so forth.
If it's like finished, like, I hope one day somebody just like puts it out there. Like, why not? Like, especially who's the Warner Bros. Zaslav or whatever his name is,
David Zaslav.
That guy sucks. Like,
he's the worst.
If he like gets fired one day and like the new executives just like go ahead, like put this out there, like kind of what Ryan Reynolds did with like Deadpool, like the Deadpool demo reel or whatever. I'd love to see it because the fact that we did not get to see Brendan Fraser's Firefly, like,
it's a crime.
It is a crime because like he had just gotten off The Whale. He was just in Killers of the Flower Moon this past year. Like, I'm big Brendan Fraser guy, or Fraser. I forget however to say it correctly. I think it's Fraser. So I would have loved to have seen that, but alas, the world is cruel and dark.
Yeah. I know things about this movie.
Like what?
There's some members of the Bat family we haven't seen on the big screen that we finally would have gotten to see. That's
like who? Why can't you tell? What? Okay.
I'm not. I'm honor bound. The things I heard through the grapevine.
Are you legally obligated though?
No, but I'm honor bound.
Like, did you like? Is it like blood, or like did you like smoke his vape, or her vape, or like?
It's not blood, but it was red.
Okay. Cool.
I'll leave that there.
I'm not gonna prod. I'm just curious.
But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, with that, the DCEU, the cockroach on a burger of cinematic universes.
It's delicious. It's
slimy
good.
Yet satisfying, but not really that satisfying. But the ones that are good are great.
Well, Hakuna Matata, you know.
Bill, buddy, where can the lovely people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Star Wars Bill. If we start recording again, you can listen to us on Skywalking Through the League. We're on Twitter at SkywalkingTL. And yeah, thank you for having me again, my friend. I love you, and
always I love you.
This has been it. Also, like, we're going back to the 4th anniversary. Like, if it wasn't for this show, like, I might not know you, and like I might not have like a wonderful, beautiful friend. And I'm appreciative.
This man's been in my home. This man's been in my house.
I've slept on your couch, and we've fought with our lightsabers in your hometown, like in the downtown.
Yeah, we were in Market Square fighting with lightsabers. Took you to one of my favorite restaurants. I consumed illicit substances and became a fucking menace.
I'm telling, like,
Phantom Menace.
Also, like, that restaurant that we went to, like, the vibe around it was so much fun because, like, I remember, like, they brought us our food. I think they were about to close or something, and they just like dumped a pile, like a big old mound of fries, and they're like, "Y'all want this?" And we're like, "Yeah, absolutely, we do." Like, oh my god, love that place. Love you. But yeah,
I love you. The next time you're in Pittsburgh, I'm taking you to Sheetz.
Oh, every time, like, I went on a trip in September into West Virginia, and I went to the Sheetz, and I dropped a massive amount of sheets in that Sheetz. So
now you got to eat sheets to get the full experience, to finally understand why I am the way I am.
Eat sheets and then release the sheets.
Yes, release the sheets cut. But no, thank you so much, Bill. You're one of my favorite people to talk to in this space, and it's always a pleasure. You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DarkJedi2552, and you can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and on our website, thenerdacademypodcast.com, where if you want to get some TNAT merch, go ahead and click that student store link.
tpublic.com.
And if you're feeling generous, you can donate to our Patreon.
Hey, give me $1.
Speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus, Keandre Lloyd.
Colin Provolone. Sir.
So good.
Steal yourself, Colin! Steal yourself!
This is me stealing myself.
And to Paco, or as he's going by on our Patreon now, Chat GPT.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
I saw Bill lose his shit. I think he forgot about the Alex screaming Patreon.
I always forget about Alex screaming.
And thank you to our friend Ray Clausen, who asks that you donate to Equality Texas to help keep queer kids safe in the Lone Star State. Housekeeping. Ionized Bastards Season 2 is on now. First 2 episodes on the All Remaining Systems YouTube channel. The second episode is hands down the best episode of Ionized Bastards yet. Go watch it. I get space canceled. Bill knows what happened. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to spoil the episode. It's nothing actually problematic, but I did something that in hindsight in Star Wars was actually really fucked up. Again, I don't want to spoil it, but goddamn.
I'm not saying anything.
Also, Epic Confrontations. There's going to be a match out soon. It's going to be a double header out soon. So the main event is Jerry the Cannon Junkie of the Bombad Cast and Ionized Bastards versus Jane Dalton, a Dragon Con Trivia alum, in a number 1 contender match that will decide half of who the first Epic Confrontations Championship match will be played between. The undercard for this doubleheader is a Geek verse exhibition match. I will be on the desk for that, so I won't let Eli get away with any tomfoolery. But playing in that match is our very own Travis Grossman. So be sure to tune into that whenever it's out. We'll be sharing it around. Very excited. I helped write that this match, so I think you guys will enjoy it a lot. Also, last episode of this season of the Versus series, hopefully coming next week. So stay tuned for all of that. Bill, thank you again for joining us, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me, buddy.
Happy to. Thank you for 4 years of the Nerd Academy, and class dismissed.
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar.